Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Today I have William Brown as my guest. William had a 27-year management career with Procter & Gamble in a variety of assignments across the US. He retired from Procter & Gamble in 1999 and started to focus on community engagement work. His work included teenage addiction, programs and services for high school students and teens in the juvenile justice system, youth leadership development, including Indigenous high school students, Arizona Myeloma Network, board development, strategic planning. He also served and worked with numerous boards with an emphasis on board development, visioning, and strategic planning. William is currently serving as the project director for the development and launch of the Cancer Caregivers of America's online Cancer Caregivers education program, developed by the Arizona Myeloma Network organization, which he is here to tell us more about today. Welcome, William. I understand the Cancer Caregivers Education Program is an online platform with 3 functions. Please tell us a little bit more, like how and why was the program developed?
Okay. Well, I think it's important for your audience to know that I am a cancer caregiver. In fact, I have been one. I'm a primary cancer caregiver, and I've been on a cancer caregiving team 4 other different times for family members. So I am very aware of what a cancer caregiver and a patient has to go through on their journey. So one of the things I learned early on is that we have researchers and scientists who do and are very committed to finding treatments and cures for cancer diseases. Then we have doctors and medical professionals who are equally committed to making sure that those treatments are delivered to the patient. Where we have gone a little bit off the rails is that we never did anything for the cancer caregivers and the patients to understand what they need to do on the cancer caregiving journey. So what we did was, back in 2007, Barbara Kavanaugh started the Cancer Caregivers Education Program. Now, the thing that she emphasizes all the time is that when you, the patient, leave the care of the medical professionals and go home, you and the cancer caregiver are left to fend for yourselves. Essentially, the cancer caregiver becomes the first responder. That's what we do. That's who I am. So it was important enough, excuse me, for us to then make sure that the cancer caregivers and the patient, mind you, had the skills necessary to be sure that on that care journey, that they could manage the health and well-being of that patient effectively. Thus, the Cancer Caregivers Education Program. The program is for all cancers, and it benefits the patient as well as the caregiver. So we don't distinguish a difference in the programming between a caregiver and a patient.
Oh, okay.
Because what a patient goes through once they get home is the same thing that every other family member goes through. And so you have to deal with all those same issues. So our mission is to build skills, provide resources and support that will improve the quality of life for the patient and the healthcare outcomes for the patient, as well as the rest of the family members, but the focus is the patient, right?
Okay.
So there are a lot of resources available right now for cancer caregiving and cancer patients that weren't there before. What we found, though, is that they're scattered. They're scattered all over the place. So one organization will provide this need, another organization will do this thing. No one was focused at all on the skill development of the cancer caregivers and patients. Lots of resources, but no one really focused on the skill. And what we believe is that that's what we need to do, focus on the skills. And so again, building skills, providing resources and support for the patient is what the program is all about. And there are 3 functions inside the program that I get into a little bit later.
Okay, so you kind of mentioned this, but you said it benefits both the patient and the caregiver. So
Right.
how does the program benefit both?
Okay, so the difference between the caregiver and the patient is that the patient is undergoing treatment. Cancer caregivers don't do that. But once that patient leaves the care of the care professionals, the medical professionals, they go home. What then that patient has to deal with is the financial burdens, the physical and mental stresses of cancer. How do I navigate this whole healthcare system? How do I communicate with my family about what's going on with me? So all those things and much more are what the patient has to deal with, like the cancer caregiver. So if we make sure that the patient have those skills too, and then the both of them then together likens the better chances of much better healthcare outcomes and quality of life for that patient and the family. Because if you're in a three average 2 point something household, so you got two people plus another, then you have your friends, and then you have your work. A lot of cancer patients and cancer caregivers are still working. And so how do
Yeah.
you communicate with work? Productivity losses at work. So what we teach inside of that program, well, this program is how to manage all those different aspects of along your cancer caregiving journey.
That's
So
awesome.
the patient benefits as well.
I can't help but think of Sherry Romanowski, who started Bagot, because she went from being the caregiver straight into being the patient, and the
Oh,
things that she had to know and learn, and that's what got us started. And just thinking, wow, this probably would have been very beneficial for her back then too, because a lot of
well,
people, I think, do that, go from one to the next in
that's
different
exactly right.
ways.
When I got into this, what I found myself becoming was a researcher
Ah,
online all the time.
yeah.
I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't really know what I was looking for.
Hmm.
It became noise to me.
Mm,
And so it helped me some, I knew, but it didn't help me a whole lot. So until I went through the program itself a number of years ago, that's when things started to being organized and making much more sense.
yeah, that's awesome. And there's
Yeah,
so much information. The researching becomes a full-time job and it's confusing. You want to make sure you're getting the right stuff that's vetted, that's, appropriate,
that's
and
right.
so much. So it's nice
That's
to
right.
have different ways to organize that and bring it
That's
in
right.
to something more
That's right.
solid.
That's exactly right. And those three functions, I can just tell you now, the three and they're critical. One is the very first one is education. Those are the education modules that we have put together. And the program, by the way, was built by cancer caregivers, cancer patients, and cancer care professionals.
Awesome.
Built the program. So it wasn't somebody in some room thinking that, oh, maybe we could do this. That wasn't the case at all. The
Yeah.
program was built by the people who are affected in one way or another by a cancer diagnosis. So the modules have lesson plans that are one, engaging and interactive, and they are built to teach you skills. We want you to, once you go to that module, we want you to have that skill. What you don't do is sit there and read or sit there and listen to a video. You are actually engaging in the process, and we'll demonstrate that in the next session. But so those modules, or when we launched the program, we started with 8 education modules. Anything from communicating with your family members about cancer and the effects of cancer, how to communicate with the healthcare professionals. I was lost. I was actually embarrassed sometimes
Mm,
to even ask a question because I'm thinking I'm wasting the doctor's time by asking this question. I can go home and research. That's and that's what we found a lot of patients and caregivers do. They don't want
oh
to ask the
yeah.
questions. And so we teach you how to effectively manage your time in front of your medical professionals, asking them questions and how do you build your list so that you can do that once you get to them, and then you're much more efficient. Things like navigating the healthcare system, uh, which is a monster in and of itself,
Yeah.
right? How do I make sure that my oncologist has the same information that my practitioner does, that the nurse practitioner needs to have, so that everybody's on the same sheet of music. I didn't realize that that wasn't happening before.
Yeah,
And
it's
it still is
shocking.
a problem today. So now I navigate and make sure that all those entities have all the right information. So you don't be asking me the question, well, what's the blood pressure? Or what was the readings before you? You already got it. So it teaches us 8 different skill sets dealing with how to manage stress and a whole host of other things that they have to go through. And you can go through the modules at your own pace. You don't have to rush. You can take your time. You can go through them fast, or you can take your time and go through them whenever you can. Most cancer caregivers and patients are pretty busy. So those modules, on this, one other one is a real key one is understanding the role of a caregiver. What I found was that I had, and without realizing it, taking on a second full-time job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And did not realize it. And so until I went through the program that helped me understand, okay, let's talk about it, figure out here's your role, here's how much time I have to do each one of these things every single week. And then I realized, oh my goodness, no wonder I'm tired all the time. And no wonder I'm stressed all the time, because I was doing so much more. But the program though tells us and teaches you how to then build your care team, so you have other people helping you get all those things done. And then my workload was cut over and over again.
So important. That's why we
important.
include the Caring for the Caregiver booklet in the Bag It Bag, because
That's right.
Caregivers need that care, and sometimes you don't realize it. You're just in the thick of it. Got to get things done. Got to take care of, and you can't pour out of an empty vessel. At some point, you're done. You know. I thought it was so interesting. Exactly. I just had to point out when you said the questions that we get afraid to ask. As if we're medical professionals, we go in thinking, oh, I'm embarrassed to ask this. And so many people do. I've done it. You were saying you did, I mean, everybody I talked to is like, well, I didn't want to ask him that. It seemed like a stupid question. It's like, do you have a doctorate degree? Like, you don't have a medical degree. Why would that not be a question you would ask? Of course you don't know the answer to that. You haven't studied cancer. So, we need to learn it's okay to just ask. But you're right. Keeping it organized so it can be succinct when you get in there is also very important, so that your doctor, can actually take the time to answer those instead of it just being a rabbit trail. So
that's
sounds
exactly
like
the point.
Wonderful tools. Well, I'm so excited that you joined us today, and thank you so much for doing that and sharing about this program. I'm even more excited that you're going to be back next week to share some more about the program. I mean, it has some amazing tools that help with stress management, survivorship, communicating with your family, and the care professionals, and navigating the healthcare system, like you pointed out. And I mean, just so many more things, like as you get talking, that you hear about. So I'm so glad you'll be back with us again next week to share some more. So I hope all of you are also back with us next week to hear some more. Thank you, William. Have a great week.
Thank you.